it's harder to defend a guy where he's moving from a spot. It's harder to hit a moving target, right? And so with Zach Wilson, that's where the people are like, I see some Patrick Mahomes in here because he's throwing, his shoulders are all over the place and his feet are all over the place. And when I started in this business in 2010, that front shoulder and front foot better be pointing to where the ball is going, right? We talked about Drew Bledsoe-like mechanics. You want pocket passers. The game has changed where you want a little bit of backyard football with these guys. And Zach Wilson brings that of also I believe in my wide receivers. I'm going to chuck the ball 50 yards downfield and believe that my guy is going to make a play. And so the football jumps out of his hand, and he's athletic. He's moving all over the place. I mean, so I do see that. A lot of people want to say this is Patrick Mahomes. I think the question is it Patrick Mahomes or is it Johnny Manziel? Does it translate to the next level? Because he's 6'1", he's 205 pounds, right? So, so let's be honest. Like, Manziel's style of football and Patrick Mahomes' style of football aren't that different. It's just the one is good at it. Mahomes is able to see the field better than anyone I've ever seen play the game and process the information so quickly that he can use that arm strength and the crazy angles and the crazy platforms to get the ball to his playmakers. Manziel was like, I'm going to run around like a chicken with my head cut off in the backfield and then just chuck the ball up, and it didn't work. So I'm not saying Zach Wilson is Johnny Manziel, guys, but we have to – there are examples of players not being able to succeed with a similar style of play. So you can't just look at it and be like, he's running around for 10 seconds back there, throws the ball up, that's Patrick Mahomes. That's not fair. That's not scouting.
Right. And you're not saying he's Johnny Manziel, but you're not saying he's not. And I think that's really where this discussion right. continues. So we're talking with Matt Miller, ESPN draft analyst. It's Bart and Hahn, Alan Hahn, Bart Scott. So on that, like that is such, and that's why I kind of reacted when you said it. It's somewhere in between. And that's the scariest thing of all. I know we had John Holden, we were doing this, and I gave you, like, in this century, quarterbacks, the best of the best, the elite quarterbacks of this century since 2000, 6 of them were in the top 10. Right? Like it just, to me, like that's, I mean, I'm sorry, not even, no, 6 of them weren't in the top. I should say 4 were in the top 10, and only 3 were top 3, and only 2 were number 1. It is, like, to me, that's what I think makes this so precarious, but also what makes deciding it before the draft. You're, like, when we talk about these players, you never know because you don't know where they're going to go. I think that's a big part of it too. But with that in mind, part of it. Yeah, it's got to be, right? It has to be, and they don't control that. But with that in mind, I'm asking you specifically now about the number 2 pick, because I think, at least, can we agree though that Trevor would go number 1 in your mind? Right? He's number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a done deal.
So the draft begins at number 2, obviously, and that's where the Jets are. And the Jets have, as Bart mentioned, Sam Darnold, who was a number 3 pick a couple of years ago, and we're still waiting to see him hit the potential. In your estimation, in your study, and you've been doing this, like you said, for a long time, would the Jets be making a mistake to trade 2 and keep Sam?
I don't think that it would be a mistake. I do think that the fans would revolt, but – so I look at it this. I do think Sam Darnold is fixable. Now, he may never live up to what we all thought he was going to be coming out of USC, right? That's a different conversation. You have forget those expectations. But is he fixable to where he can become a playoff caliber quarterback? I do think so. To me, the conversation is, what is that number 2 draft pick worth? Because if you want to call the Carolina Panthers and say, you know what, we're thinking about keeping Sam Darnold, what would you give us for the number 2 pick? It is going to be a lot. And this is not a roster, the New York Jets, that is one player away from contention. Right. You are not Zach Wilson away from being a playoff team in the AFC East. You're just not. So I think you have to weigh that of, if we trade the number 2 pick, we also have pick, I think, 23 from the Seattle deal. You start to package all these picks together, and then you start to look like Indianapolis real quick, who traded from 3 to 6 in 2018,
with the Jets.
So the Jets could go get Sam Darnold, and they were able to then, you know what, we could trade a first-round pick for an all-pro and DeForest Buckner because we've used all these picks in the previous years from that trade down. So I think that's something the Jets have to weigh Sam Darnold against this quarterback class, and they have to weigh the value of the number 2 overall pick against the value of Sam Darnold. So it's Joe Douglas has a heck of a decision ahead of him. It's not going to be an easy one.
Yeah, for me, Carolina is the only team I want to do business with because, the Falcons moving from 4 to 2 isn't going to be as much compensation, but you're going to get a haul from somebody jumping from 9 or 8 all the way up to 2. That's going to be multiple first-round draft picks, which would give the Jets 3 first-round draft picks at least. next year, and maybe some extra number twos in which they can package together and try and get Deshaun Watson and then trade Sam Darnold if he plays well this year for number two, because I believe that Houston is dug in. But the question I want to ask you, when you broke down Sam Darnold in 2016 and you're breaking down Zach Wilson now, what's the difference in evaluation? Tell everybody, all the listeners, what's the difference and what's the grades that you gave Sam Darnold in 2016 versus what you give Zach Wilson in 2021?
Yeah, Bart. So I try to do this just like an NFL team would, just like the Baltimore Ravens would or the New York Jets would. So I can actually go back and look at, all right, 2017 draft class, what grade, or 2018 draft class, what grade did I give Sam Darnold? I gave him a 7.2. So the nice thing is I can now go and look, what grade did I give Zach Wilson? I gave him a 7.5. So I like Zach Wilson more than I did Sam Darnold at the time. And the reason for that is I think the game has changed where you have to be able to move your legs and score or at least pick up yards that way. I understand Tom Brady doesn't do it a whole lot, but his pocket presence is better than any that we've ever seen. Where the game is going, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, the best quarterbacks in the NFL, all have to be able to move off their spot. The pass rush is too fast in this day and age. The offensive linemen are not good enough. You have to be able to move off your spot. Zach Wilson does that. He has a stronger arm than Sam Darnold did, but I think there are legitimate questions about, as you said, I've only seen this guy against like Coastal Carolina. When he played Utah, when he played Washington, he got it handed to him. It was a 1 year, a huge leap in production up to 33 touchdowns. So there are questions that you have to answer. He's also, he's 6'1", 205 pounds. He's had surgery on a throwing hand, surgery on a throwing shoulder. So you have to count in the medical situation as well. Like, okay, do our doctors feel like at his body he's going to be okay for 10 to 12 years? He's a little bit bigger than Kyler Murray, who went number 1 overall. So there are a lot of questions that do still get factored into this.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.